So here at this church and in this country, we believe that different ideas and different religious beliefs, we have different ideas and different religious beliefs, and even all of us, even those who speak different languages and come from different places, should be able to get along with one another. But as we all know, this is not always easy. So this morning I'm going to tell you the story of Norbert Chopek, who was a minister who celebrated the very first flower communion. He was the minister of the New Unitarian Church in Prague, and he knew that his country was struggling with religious differences, political differences, and he was thinking about this as he walked to church one Sunday with his youngest daughter, and it was springtime, and guess what year it was? Anyone? 1923. 1923, 100 years ago. Prague is a very old city. It's over 600 years old. Who knows someone who is 600 years old? I do. Who feels over 600 years old? As Reverend Chopek and his daughter were walking along in Prague through Newtown, they saw parks and houses with gardens and window boxes. And Chopek's daughter says, "Look, Papa, look at all the roses." And he looked, and even within the garden they were in passing, he noticed that no two roses looked exactly the same. And he looked and he smiled at his little girl, but he was still thinking about Prague and the fighting and his Unitarian Universalist congregation and the future. For too long, the people of Prague had been fighting about religion. Those who were Jews had been forced to live in just one small section of the city. Even those who were Christian didn't agree with one another. They had different ideas about God. Reverend Chopek himself had been raised Catholic, which is one kind of Christian, but when he turned 18, he became a Protestant, which is a whole other kind of Christian. Later, he became a minister who believed in religious freedom, the idea that every person should freely choose their own religion and identity. His thoughts were interrupted again by his daughter. "Look, Papa, look at the new flowers around this house," she yelled. "How many different kinds and colors there are, and yet how beautiful they look all together." The minister looked and smiled and nodded again. "Let's hope that our new country can be like that," he said. Prague was the capital of a brand new city at that time, Czechoslovakia, only 4 years old. Who knows someone who's 4 years old? The people who lived there came from many places, practiced many different religions, and spoke many languages: Czech, German, Hungarian, Polish, and even more. Chopek thought, what a tangled history this new garden our country has. Thank goodness flowers do not look down on one another and hold old grudges like people can. That spring at Easter and Passover, Reverend Chopek had begun to think that it was not enough just to give sermons to his Unitarian congregation. All religions, he thought, have rituals that remind members of their deepest beliefs. Catholics and Protestants have different forms of communion, and Jews have Passover. But what did the Unitarians have? "Look, Papa, from the open field over there, I've made a pretty bouquet, all different flowers," hollered his daughter. "That's it," thought the minister. "Bless you, my child. This is the ritual we need at our church. When we get there, I'm going to ask each person to come the following Sunday with a different flower or bouquet from a tree or a garden, from the roadside or the field. Each will be different. Each rose is different from every other one, just as each person is unique and different, even though they might not share the same languages or origin or hopes or ideas. And each will go home with a flower different from the one they brought, as a symbol of their commitment to help us all to live together in harmony with respect for the divine beauty that lies in each, but is greater than any one. So on June 14th, 1923, when the local flowers were at their most beautiful, Chapek asked everyone to bring one blossom to the service and place it in a vase at the center of the meeting hall. And in his sermon, Chapek said the flowers symbolized each church member, each unique and free, joined together in fellowship. And at the end of the service, each member was to take a different flower home with not a care for who brought it, to show that we accept each other without regard to class, race, religion, or other distinction, acknowledging everyone as our friend who is a human and wants to be good. The Unitarian congregation in Prague grew up to be the largest Unitarian church in the world, and every spring, Norbert Chapek's congregation celebrated the flower communion as a symbol of their belief in democracy, diversity, and religious freedom. And we celebrate it today for the same reason, to honor our uniqueness and the beauty that emerges when we come together as one congregation.